Let's knock out the rest of the questions from Maxine Dexter's town hall today in Portland, Oregon at Roosevelt High School. If you haven't seen my other 3 videos I think I've done covering some of her other questions, go watch those. And then y'all, no offense, I love you, but I got shit to do. So I've been at this for a couple hours and I need to go do something else. I'm going to just bam, 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 get through these. Real quick here, a couple of things about Maxine Dexter. She's a freshman congresswoman. She's a member of the Doctors Caucus. She is a member of the Progressive Caucus. I've been very open about the fact that I did not vote for her in the primary, but I did vote for her in the general election. And I've had overall, I've been pretty positive about her and I have not been afraid to criticize the ways I feel that she's not doing enough. In fact, early in the year, I was critical of the fact that I felt she was very timid. I knew she was new. She thought she was going to get elected and have Kamala Harris for president. I don't blame any freshman Democrat in Congress. They just got blindsided and immediately dumped into a cesspool, basically. So I totally want to have empathy for them, but I was frustrated to hear hesitancy from her and so many other Democrats, not just from her, but also from both of my senators at the time. Early in the year, you can go back and watch my old town hall videos. One of my first really big viral videos this year was one where I went to Senator Ron Wyden's town hall and I was like, oh yeah, Congress is not going to save us. That town hall cemented for me, Congress, they're not our saviors. In fact, we're going to have to drag them kicking and screaming to defend democracy. It's up to us, the people, we get to save us. And on one hand, that prediction has been entirely true. Democratic leadership has consistently been a disappointment. They've consistently done the wrong things and showed a lack of spine, a lack of necessary tenacity. But there are younger, more progressive members who have been vigorously defending their constituents, working hard to organize and defend democracy against the Republicans, against Donald Trump. It's getting really dark. I think it's about to rain, so let me turn a light on real quick. Okay, that's better. So, I have watched Maxine. I've gone to almost every single town hall. I think there was one I didn't go to because I'd broken my foot. But I have gone to pretty much every town hall that she's had all year, including her telephone town halls. And I have watched Maxine grow more and more bold. She's been more outspoken. She has been less afraid to speak her mind. I've just watched her open up, and I think we're seeing more of her authentic self, right? As the constituents in her district are giving her feedback of more, we need you to fight harder. We need you to be louder. We need you to be more aggressive on behalf of us. And she's really listened. I know that it can seem like our elected officials don't listen to us. And I'm really sorry if you've got folks like Lauren Boebert as your rep, right? But for those of us that have representatives who really want to represent us, they need our feedback. At one point in the town hall, Maxine was like, send me your emails where you're yelling at me. Give me any kind of feedback, positive or negative. I need to hear from you so that I know how to govern on your behalf. That's a real representative. And Maxine has also been outspoken about overturning Citizens United. She was really, really aggressive in addressing it today in a way that was like, yes, girl. Where she was saying billionaires need to be taxed. We need to return to tax rates like we had before Ronald Reagan. I think I said in one of my last videos, Maxine was cooking, right? She was cooking with gas. She absolutely was so much more bold and so much more frank in this town hall today. And I was really, really pleased to see it. Her framing, her attitude, her willingness to speak openly and honestly about what's happening. There was no dissembling. There was no politician speak from her. And that was really, really refreshing. So Maxine, if you or your staff watch any of my videos, thank you. I was really jazzed to see your energy today. We need more of that posture. We need more of that energy from our elected representatives. And I think a lot of these younger, in terms of not necessarily age, but in terms of how long they've been in Congress, these younger representatives, particularly in the Progressive Caucus in the House, they understand the assignment. It took them a while, took some of them a while to get their shit together, but they understand now. They understand what their constituents require of them, what democracy requires of them, what this moment in history requires of them. Okay, let's knock out these last couple questions. So someone said, it feels like we're approaching the 1929 stock market crash. There's an AI bubble that is about to burst. At the same time, the Trump regime is reducing regulation on industries. Data centers require vast amounts of energy. At the same time that Trump is cutting back on renewable energy sources. All those solar panel electricians who got laid off after Donald Trump cut off funding that Joe Biden had allocated for the Green New Deal for solar energy incentives. So this person was like, Maxine, I encourage you to work to regulate these industries and to think about what will happen going forward, right? After all of this mess, what are we going to do with these data centers? They use huge amounts of energy, and that burden gets passed on to the rest of us in the grid. Under a different kind of president, we might have something like requirements that these data centers produce all of their own energy through renewables. This is also, by the way, why I don't use generative AI, I don't use ChatGPT. I realize that I do social media for a living, and so there is an environmental cost to the kind of online work that I do, but I don't want to contribute to these data centers that are in these communities just like belching out a tremendous amount of pollution. And Maxine actually talked about that in her answer. She said, it's worse than you think because, first of all, there's no oversight from the EPA anymore. Donald Trump and all of these corporations, they want to be free to pollute wherever and harm our bodies, harm the planet for generations to come. They don't want regulations for either workers or for anybody living around these businesses, these not just data centers, but also any kind of like factory, anything that's just like belching out pollution or intentionally dumping it into the ground and the groundwater. Remember, Joe Biden's administration was banning forever chemicals, and Donald Trump is now like, no. We're not even going to regulate forever chemicals. You can just dump those puppies right into the water, right into everybody's bodies. That would be a good time for everybody to go rewatch the movie Dark Waters. Just saying. So Maxine said, well, unfortunately, these data centers, it's worse than you think because they can't get enough electricity from the grid and they aren't interested in renewables. So what they're doing is they're running massive diesel generators that are just polluting these communities where these are opening up. She said that she is on this subcommittee for natural resources. She's the ranking member, and that what we need is restoration of the EPA, restoration of regulations that help protect all of us, protect our health and the environment. She said that right now it's just like a shit show. It's a circus where Donald Trump and China, they want to do deep sea mining for rare minerals. They want to do space mining. And she said it's also a grift because who is going to get those sweet government contracts for space mining for rare minerals? Yeah, Elon Musk and SpaceX. If it were not a grift, we would not be having conversations about fucking space mining while 42 million Americans go hungry, while we're cutting funding for education, while we've laid off 100,000 plus federal employees. They want to give billions of dollars to Elon Musk and SpaceX for space mining. Next question was about federal employees going without pay. What can we do to support our federal workers? And Maxine said, there are resources. Federal employees can get zero interest loans from federal credit unions. She said it's important that all of us pressure our local community credit unions to also offer 0% interest loans to federal employees who are affected by the shutdown, and that we have to rely on community resources. And I want to talk about this in another video because I think what we're seeing here with a concern about people who are not working right now and the way that neighbors want to take care of neighbors, I think this is a chance to lay the groundwork for labor strikes in the forthcoming months. But let's move on to the last question. This is a question about cuts across all federal agencies. Someone was looking up cuts to the program that they work with and said they saw in the government portal that there are anticipated cuts to all federal agencies. And what is it that Maxine and the Democrats can do to restabilize those agencies, which are really necessary? Maxine said the president is intentional in undermining the ability of our agencies to do the work that is required by law. This is part of the 2025 strategy to render the government non-functional. She said she and other members of Congress earlier this week were out demanding that RFK Jr. be fired from his job. And she said, well, he really is not qualified for the job that he has. He is really not qualified for basically any job. But the fact that he is so inept, that's part of the design. He said another example of the regime trying to render the government non-functional is that DOJ has fired all of the schedulers or a lot of the schedulers for the VA. So the doctors are still there, but the patients cannot schedule appointments to see them. He said, hurting people is the point. Cruelty is the point. He's trying to get us to submit so that we will fight over the scraps. They are intentionally destroying our country, and it will get worse before it gets better. I agree with her. We have to make sure that we end this nightmare, that this is not our new normal, that this does not persist past this brief period, horrible period in our history. But it will get worse before it gets better. I think that's factual. And we have to accept that reality while continuing to strive to stop this. So thank you, Maxine, for your town hall today. I look forward to attending one of your listening sessions soon.